Hello, everyone, and welcome to Best for Women Live. I am so happy to have you here today. Joining me is guest Sophia Ruffalo. She's the co-founder of femmebought and someone that I've known, I think it's been since 2020 is when we met. So we'll share a little bit about that story. If you haven't met me before, hello, my name is Brooke Gordon, and I am the host of the Best for Women Live podcast. And why are we live? Because that's what we do. We go live, and it's super fun to be able to have these unscripted conversations. Development and about stress management. So why I'm really excited to have Sophia on today is because she's got an amazing project that is on the go. We're excited to be partnered about the Business Building Mastermind, and we're going to hear all about it today. And here she is. Hello, my lovely, and welcome.
Hello, thank you for having me, Brooke. This is really exciting. It's been a while, especially since we've seen each other in person.
I know, I was just saying, I think that, so the last time you and I first met, I want to just really have this as a quick moment as a testament to how important it is to be clear on what's important to you. Because when you and I first met, it was because one of my colleagues knows how passionate I am about supporting women entrepreneurs. And he said, there's this incredible woman that I know. She started this at the time. It was more focused around being a directory and resources for women. And you have to meet Sophia. And so we did. And it was early spring, winter, I think, of
Yes.
2020. And it turned out that you were the last person that I hugged outside of my household for the next 2 years.
It's quite incredible. And it was fate for us to meet then, and just to see our pandemic journey and coming out of the pandemic and how we've adapted, you and I, for women and for women's benefits and women entrepreneurs. It's been a journey.
It really has. So as we start off for today, I wanted to invite you to just, maybe start by sharing a little bit about yourself, and then we're going to dig deep into femmebought and some fabulous topics together. But Sophia, I know you, and you are incredibly accomplished, and I know you don't often talk about it. So I want to sort of put you in a little bit of a bind to share a little bit about yourself and a little bit about your personal journey to start.
Okay. Well, one of the things, my favorite things to tell people is, I have grown up in what started when I began my career as a male-dominated industry, in the law, in financial services, in estate planning. And one of the reasons behind femmebought is I have always wanted mentorship, networking, support, career strategy, and things like that in my career path as an attorney and lawyer. And it just wasn't as readily available as it seemed for some of my male counterparts at the time. And then, fast forward 15, 20 years, and I decided I wanted to support women-owned businesses and realized it's the same issue. There's not really a whole lot of networking, not a whole lot of mentorship, real mentorship. And you and I have had talks about what mentorship actually means. And strategizing, like somebody you can talk to about the nitty gritty and the hard stuff, and not be worried about what they'll think about you and things like that. And so my journey, I think, has morphed in part by what started as my professional career, and I really saw the same gaps overlapping on the entrepreneurial side.
Amazing. Yes. Yes to all of that. I'm also just pulling out, there's a comment, unwanted comment in the chat. So I'm going to pull that out and make sure that that's not there. So Sophia, I love that. And we have talked a lot about mentorship. And I think the other piece we've talked about is how different things are, and this idea of, let's call it the old boys club. And it's so interesting because I actually had a conversation with a colleague about this when she owned her own large business, and she actually discovered that a group of guys in the business were going out for lunch every Friday and, sort of taking a 2-hour lunch. And she realized sort of what was happening, and it was really difficult for her to sort of, they had created in an environment where she was trying to create inclusivity. They had self-created this small grouping amongst themselves that was creating animosity, and creating separation. So it's very true. It's very prevalent. And it's something that shows up professionally, and then it also shows up again as a business owner, because you think, okay, great, I'm going to get away from it professionally. I'm going to own my own business or join a small business, and suddenly it shows up again in a completely different way.
And then as we see it, we get unwanted comments like we just did a moment ago, which I just realized I didn't join as femmebought, but I joined as myself. Brooke, do you want me
to hop off and we'll hop back on again?
On. Maybe we'll avoid some of those weird comments.
All right, amazing. Okay, I'll wait here. You hop on and hop off again, and I'll add you back in. Perfect. And while I do that, I'm going to take a quick moment to say a little bit more about how thrilled I am to have Sophia here, because there's so much about what she has done and the network that she's created that's really significant. And so the name femmebought is really around purchasing power when she first started thinking through it. So we're going to ask her a little bit more about that as well. Okay, perfect. Here she is. And we're going to add her right back in again, which is awesome. And she's back.
I'm here. I made it. Sorry about that.
No,
I realized halfway through.
There's no apology necessary. So, Sophia, I was just saying, tell me a little bit more about the name, because some people hear femmebought and they think B-O-T, but it's not the robot style. It's a femmebought. It's about purchasing power. So tell us a little bit about the name and the origin and how this came to be.
Absolutely. I love that you say purchasing power, because that is the drive behind it. And so the first half of the word femme is the French word for woman. And then bought, B-O-U-G-H-T, I bought from a woman. And it's encouraging women to buy from one another. And that morphs into encouraging women to support one another and to collaborate together and to learn from one another. And, not everyone's an expert in everything. And so one of the ways that I look at it is learn from the people who are experts in their thing and share your expertise with the women who need your expertise. And then in essence, you're buying from women. You're buying from one another. And I encourage men to buy from women as well.
Okay, repeating that for those in the back who are tuned in, everyone should buy from a woman-owned business.
Exactly. It's not just about women supporting women, it's about everybody supporting women. And that was when we founded femmebought, one of the things we talked about was getting male allies to support and to attend the events. And little by little, more and more men were coming to our events and meeting women and wanting to support women. Our sponsors, a lot of times, were male-owned businesses who wanted to show the world that, yes, this is important, and putting their money behind the message of supporting women entrepreneurs and the purchasing power of everyone to support women.
Oh, and I think this is really important, because at Best for Women, we've had allies come on as our experts. That's a huge part of what this podcast is sharing expertise of the women in our network. And then there's another element to it that you and I met through one of those allies.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. I mean, that's the beautiful thing about not limiting yourself to a particular segment of supporters. You might have a niche, let's say, in your business. You might be targeting a particular group, but having people who support you across the board is so incredibly important. It's important whether you're in a career or whether you're a woman-owned business or just in life. If your car breaks down on the side of the road, you'll take help from anyone who's a positive support person, not just somebody who is in your niche, let's say.
Yeah. And I think there's also a distinction there, and I know we're going a little off topic, but I think it's an important one, because those who are allies are there with positive support. And that's very different from, you know, we talked about there being a comment earlier about trying to get a woman to marry them. Like there's a lot of unwanted behavior out there, and that's not what we're speaking to. We're speaking to those who are true allies, who are there to support and lift up and be a resource, as Sophia and I are.
Exactly. And what a resource. I mean, Brooke, what you teach women is astounding. I mean, if we had Rose Mills or, you know, Amy Bissonette or Sarah Turrell on here, Tasha, Trina, they would echo the sentiment of the strategic thinking you help women grow into is incredible. So I just want to applaud you for that.
Thank you, my friend. I really appreciate that. You know that it's something really valuable to me. I mean, I taught business strategy for years as a professor, but it's something that I find is that missing link. And we talk about scale up and growth, but one of the things that I find really is a shift, and I know you have as well, is that level of strategic intentional thinking as opposed to being organic and taking what's been presented to you. And so I go back almost to our, you know, our original welcome and how you and I met is I've been really clear in my message of helping women, and you've been really clear in your message of helping women. And so there were people in our mutual networks where you and I didn't know each other who said, okay, well, I just have to put the two of you together because sparks are going to fly when I do, because the two of you are so passionate about what you do. And I think that's a huge part of it, is that we do bring passion to what we do, but specifically what we bring passion to is this shift from being organic and getting going and being a practitioner or working in the business and being exceptionally good at your craft, to starting to be a business leader or leader in a business where you're really thinking about working on the business. And I know this is an area of passion for you as well, both, you know, from your as a professional, as a lawyer. This is a huge part of what you do, is you try to bring the company back to think about implications and long-term, the long-term forward thinking. So I invite you to just sort of jump in on thoughts around sort of this topic.
Well, I could talk all day, and I'd love to hear thoughts too from those of you who are watching. But you know, you start in the entrepreneurial space, and you've got an idea, and that idea has to grow into something, and that's where the passion, the seed of the passion is. And then from the seed of the passion, now what? Well, you got to see if this idea has teeth. And a lot of times people actually start all the strategy stuff way in the beginning without seeing if their idea has teeth. So that progression is an interesting one, because it really is an order of how you develop as a business owner, and surrounding yourself with people who are at your stage of business. But then once you find that your idea has teeth, it has meaning, you've thrown some spaghetti at the wall and it's stuck. And you're like, oh, it's stuck. Okay, this is working. And
to be clear, it's stuck as in you're making some money.
Yes. Yeah,
right? There's a market need. So just to be really clear, that market need means that I had an idea and someone was willing to pay me to compensate me for that idea because it was of benefit to them.
That, you know what, you made a terrific point, because there are a lot of people who spend a lot of time on their idea, and none of it is around how do we actually gain revenue. And if you're not making money, it's not a business, it's a hobby. You might be spending all your time on it, it's a hobby, unfortunately. And so that progression and that thinking in the early days has to be some of the organic work. But once you find that you have teeth, that's where you go from founder to CEO, from doer to leader. We've got, if you check out our website, you'll know that we use those terms, doer to leader, and work on your business, not just in your business.
Yes.
And Brooke, you are a huge proponent of how to balance working in your business and working on your business.
Yeah.
That's so important.
And working on yourself, because that's another element that often, especially when you have a lot of passion, sometimes there's the risk that that passion can consume you. And so that's another element, and we won't dig into that today, but you're right. The sustaining component is sustaining your momentum, sustaining your energy in order to keep fueling that passion.
And, I know that's not our focus today, but it is important to say that especially when you're a new business owner, it is really easy to be 24/7. I've got to do this. I've got to do that. I'm keeping up with the fear of missing out. I'm keeping up with what the other person, how did they get their marketing strategies so buttoned down, and I'm still looking like doesn't really have purpose and meaning and things like that. And so sometimes working on your business means working on yourself too, right?
Because these are skills, right? We have strengths and we have skills, and they're not always the same. And I think it's really important to consider that there are people who are really, some things do come naturally, but also they've been exposed to ideas throughout their career, maybe prior career or prior experience. And then they carry that forward with them. And so we think, oh my gosh, they're just like magically getting it. And yet we're at the same stage in our business. Well, we're not, because we have experience. And it's those analytical, strategic thinking skills. There's actually frameworks. There's a way to structure those. And so I love that that's a piece that you and I have been able to bring in the mastermind.
Absolutely. I mean, when we think about the mastermind itself at femmebought and all of the work that you've done and we've done together, part of it is, and I'm going to apologize because my dog does not stop for anyone, so if you hear some barking, you're in for a treat. But in the mastermind, part of it is building this network of supporters. And so when you say, I just can't go on, which if you have not experienced I just can't go on, then I would be very surprised. Come tell us your secrets, because there are times where you think, why am I doing this? And you've got this group of women doing business strategy together. But, if you're having a rough day on strategy, there's women jumping in and saying, this is just a blip. You're just having a rough day, and it's going to be fine. You're going to be able to work it out. And so that community support for the negative thoughts in your head that arise, because if you're human, you probably have some negative thoughts that arise from time to time. That piece of it is what is so outstanding about being in a mastermind program like this.
Sophia, can I ask you to define or share your definition of what a mastermind is? Because I've actually encountered some people who've never heard the term before. And I'll add my own thoughts, because I went digging to find out where it originated from. So I've got a little bit of a comment on that as well.
Oh, I can't wait to hear the origination. So, much like a lot of things, there are varieties of masterminds. And so this variety that we've selected, and we've had other types of varieties of mastermind, but it's a collective group of women who are looking to grow, get education, gain some experience, share some expertise, gain some expertise, but facilitate it. Like, you facilitate these incredible sessions. It starts with, pre-work and homework, but not in that, oh my gosh, how am I going to do this and work on my business? You're talking about, if you commit an hour a week, you've gotten yourself there. Maybe the thinking takes a little bit longer during the program. It's, a 32-week program, but the thinking might take longer, but then you're actually implementing it in your business. So what you don't realize is that even though it's an hour a week, and it's got immediate results. And so if I had to sum up a mastermind in a couple of words, I would say for the femmebought business building mastermind, it's business strategy in a box, but live, right? With live facilitated sessions and a collective of supporters who are going to be there for you.
Oh, I love that. Okay, let me tell you a little bit about the history, because it's an interesting word, right? Because especially now in today's context, it has connotation. And so you're wondering, well, what is this mastermind? And the idea behind it that I've been able to find is it was in reference to a gentleman named Napoleon Hill, who wrote about how to level up your thinking and how to shift your thinking many decades in the 19th century. And he referenced, I think it was Andrew Carnegie. So some of you may know this name. There's Dale Carnegie, but Andrew Carnegie was the one who was in the steel industry, and he was renowned for being a brilliant businessman. And what he had done is created this circle around him of experts. He did not want to be or expect to be an expert in anything, but what he wanted was to have a collection of experts who he could call upon. And so he called it his mastermind, because he was able to expand his mind with mastery by reaching out to those who were experts. When you think of the education in your masters, it's because you have mastery over a specific subject. And so this is a little bit of the origin that I found out. It's a little anecdotal, but it really resonates for me when I found that, because it sits with the definition that you and I have around, mastering by yourself with those who have expertise around you.
Mm-hmm. I never looked up the word, but to think that one of our mottos has been, gain expertise from others and give your expertise. It has been a theme throughout sort of our femmebought history. And so to see that we just intuitively adopted a brilliant business person's methodology is pretty exciting.
I thought that was pretty cool. I was really glad to share that with you. So one of the things that femmebought, I'm just going to read my note here because I want to get the language right. But femmebought is really an organization dedicating to empowering women entrepreneurs to scale up and lead with confidence. Now that's sort of the headline, is for those of you who've gone to the website. It's femmebought.com. Again, bought, B-O-U-G-H-T, because it's about purchasing power. But what I really love about that is the idea of actually being able to scale up, right? To level up, we say, if you're a gamer, and really hone those skills. So tell me a little bit more about some of the things that you're excited about, because you mentioned you touched on the fact it's an 8-month program. And so for some people, that's a big commitment, but tell me a little bit more and share with us a little bit more about what that's going to look like.
Absolutely. 32 weeks seems daunting, but it's only 16 sessions. And there's facilitated sessions all the way up through, I think, week 16 or week 18. And then you take all of these things that you've learned and you've developed for your business, and you present a presentation. Let's say it's like your ace in the hole, right? Your that might not even be the right golf term. I'm not a golfer, but your ace card, the presentation you want to be known for, the skills you want to present about yourself, so that you can essentially encourage people to understand the value you bring, the skills you bring, your business that you're bringing to them. And you get to present to your audience who are the other members who are participating in the mastermind. And what that does is you can craft the presentation that you want to build together, and you can sort of throw it out there to the group and see if they have ideas for you, because now at this juncture, you're 18 weeks in with a group of women who know your business, who know what you're trying to achieve and accomplish, and you have an ability to sort of crowdsource, if you will, the idea and the nature of how you want to get that idea across to the public to make yourself the most impactful when you're selling yourself, when you're selling your business, when you're getting your ideal customer, your ideal client. This group helps you essentially kind of tackle what works and what doesn't work in your presentation. So I said a mouthful. I might have rambled a little bit, Brooke, but tell me if
No,
that's what
I think you covered it really well, because this idea of the premier presentation, what we had, I want to share maybe anonymously, I'll share a little bit about the group from last year, because I was a facilitator for that one. And I love that you brought this to the group. We're going to have each of you do a premier presentation. And there was a couple people who were like, nope. and then there was a few who were like, I'm already ready. And so what we had was a mix of people who were practicing their presentation skills in front of a safe audience, which is huge for that confidence building. We had some people who practiced a demo and actually did like an educational moment, and it was a chance for them to sort of practice, how do I do a teaching moment in a group setting, which was really cool. And what I also loved is there's someone who had a presentation that they really wanted to refine. They had an opportunity to do a corporate level presentation, a lunch and learn. And this was their chance to go through and practice the timing, which they got great feedback that it was too much content. They had a chance to practice how to incorporate questions. They had a chance to get some feedback on, the alignment between the graphics, their conversation, the volume of text, all these things that we think, okay, this is, the presentation, and we're alone often as leaders in our head with our computer, and it makes perfect sense to us. And then someone on the outside is like, nope, half of what you're trying to say to me, I didn't understand at all, because you think in terms of words and phrases and feelings. And then, it all makes perfect sense to you. And then the person on the outside is like, I'm missing some of the stuff.
Yeah. You captured it, Brooke. Of course, you said it more succinctly than I did there, but it really is that premier presentation. One of the things that you said that resonates with me is the too much content, because I would say 90% of presentations have too much content. And so that feedback from your peers in a safe space is a lot less confidence debilitating, right? It's actually a confidence booster, because you're getting this feedback that maybe you have a little bit more content than you can get through, but you're also self-realizing it because you can't get through it all in the time period that you're allotted. So, or you'll get feedback that you were speaking really, really, really quickly. And so those types of feedback, they're safe pieces of feedback, and they are really constructive, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. And that was the feedback we got last time. And what's really lovely, of course, is that there's then the promotion element of it, right? We're going to, it's all safe within the group, but we're going to share and talk about and celebrate the work of the women who are in the mastermind. So there is an exposure component.
And to talk about exposure for a second, because this is really important, is to capitalize on all the avenues that you can, from like do once, use many, that concept. And so this premier presentation that the participants in the program are building towards is then they also have to do a bio. You have to do a little blurb about your business, and you have to do a blurb about why you like the program. And then we take that and we do 2 social media posts back-to-back weeks. One is to Brooke, let's say it was Brooke. Brooke is presenting on business strategy next week, and here's a little bit about Brooke. And so you're preparing a presentation. Now we've got this social media post that we're going to put up that hopefully you'll then capitalize on and share out and things like that. Then from there, you present, and then we have a takeaway from that presentation that we then put in another social media post. And so that is a rare thing to have happen, where you've got this structure of materials and getting your name out there from someone else that you can then share out in a way that is not once, not twice, but 3 times sharing out the fact that you present on this topic. And that, taking advantage of that opportunity and then maybe putting it in your newsletter, and we put it in our newsletter. Now you're on time 4 or time 5 or time 6 on the same consistent message.
Yeah, your message that you've been honing and crafting.
Mm-hmm. That's exactly right. That's exactly right. So now you're in, let's say, week 25 or 26 or 27 of the program. You've honed your message, you've presented on it, and now the public has had an opportunity to see consistently in a number of marketing type materials a very consistent message from you.
Now, Sophia, we've talked a little bit about what the program entails. So you've got peer support, there's an education component, there's actually doing the work and having it roll out in your business. And then this opportunity to have your premier presentation and have some great exposure around that. So can you tell us a little bit more about who the program is for and how they get into it?
Absolutely. I like that you asked this question, because the program is for, you have to be ready for it, right? You have to be ready in your business. I think we started the conversation with the different stages you are at your business. So this program is for women entrepreneurs who have been in business for a year, revenue generating, and I'll talk about why a year, why revenue generating, really ready to scale up. And what does that mean? That means delegating. That means you're ready to delegate, to let somebody else do pieces for you, which is really hard. So at least a year in business, but most people who have participated in the program have probably been 3 to 10 years in their business. That's important because it's given you a chance to see what works, what doesn't work, see the hiccups, see what being in business is all about. Why is revenue generating important? Because our whole point is to get you to scale up. So if you haven't generated any revenue, it's really hard for you to get a baseline of what works and what will actually get traction. And you're probably still in the I need to see if this works stage until you're really revenue generating with some consistent revenue.
It doesn't have teeth until it's making money.
There you go, exactly. And you were saying that earlier, and I was echoing your sentiment. And then the other part of it is delegation, because you cannot grow by yourself. It's just not possible. You can only do so much. You can only automate so much. Your presence, you can't do all your marketing by yourself and sell and actually then do the work and do the finances and do the bookkeeping and do the troubleshooting and the IT, and the list goes on. And for those of you who are on, if you've ever experienced having to do all of those things, you know that you have to focus on some of them and let the other ones lag. And that's the point at which you get a contractor or you get an employee. And if you're in the States, those of you might know that if you didn't have employees when the pandemic happened, you couldn't get the specific loans that got forgiven. You had to have employees in order to do that. And if you weren't paying yourself, you didn't get those special loan forgiveness opportunities and things like that. So it was a very, very difficult time. And so one, encouraging you, if you are scaling your business, to start thinking about delegation, and then with a view ultimately one day to contractors, but then really to employees. And so this isn't a program where you have to have contractors or employees now. You just have to have that in your vision, in your sight line, in your where you're going.
Two of the topics that I think are going to be really important, and I know we'll be covering, one of them is, and I think it's really valuable, is really getting sharp on that line of sight. Because when you start to delegate, you almost don't end up with the scaling factor if that person isn't clear on what needs to get done. Instead, they just keep coming back to you, and you might as well just have done the work yourself, which is very common. But the second piece is preparing the finances in order to be able to do that, because a lot of people think, okay, well, this is what I'm going to do, but they don't necessarily have the, I'll say, the practiced skill of figuring out how much it's going to cost and what all the underpinning costs are going to be in order to accomplish that. And so they think, or they're not sure that they can afford it. And whether you can or you can't is having confidence on knowing how much it's going to cost. It's a huge deciding factor around taking that next step.
You've touched on something really important, and that's finances and budgeting. Because doing the work is the fun part, right? Servicing your clients, fun. Getting paid, sending invoices, not fun. I mean, if you like sending invoices, more power to you.
You like getting paid, right? If you like getting paid. Chasing getting paid and sending invoices, not fun.
Not fun. You like getting paid. And the thing about it is, for finances and budgeting, is you do have to project out a certain amount of something goes really wrong type budgeting. And what could possibly go wrong? A pandemic could hit, and you could get shut down for a little while until you kind of more for, people use the word pivot, transform, all of those things that we do every day just in our natural lives and our businesses and our careers and things like that. But that was where the words du jour for the pandemic. But the reality is, when you start to pay other people, you have to get clear about whether what you're paying them to do is a value add too, right? Like, if you think about it, if you hate doing social media marketing and posting on Facebook and Instagram and LinkedIn, then that might be a value add because you hate it. But if you love it and you just don't have time for it, and then you pay somebody to do it and you don't like their product, then maybe you think about, like, is this the right value add, and budgeting that person? Or you budget somebody at $15 or $20 an hour, but to get a quality person who's going to do it the way you need them to do it, are they at $15 to $20 an hour? They might be, but they're probably likely early in their career, and they're going to outgrow that $15 to $20 an hour. And so there's that kind of budgeting too, is if you're thinking about, like, what does the long term look like for me in my business and my outsourcing? Do you need a short-term delegation help, or do you need long-term delegation help? And then that budgeting includes giving them raises, even if they're contractors, to keep them excited about doing the work for you. And there's a loyalty that you build in. So there's a lot that you teach about, Brooke, in terms of that concept and building your financial plan based on some of these things.
I think it's something that gets missed, and you raise such interesting and important points that it's not in the immediate, it's what's over time. And there's another piece that goes back to it, and we'll use your example of the social media, right? Because that's one that comes up often. Oh, well, I'll get someone to do that. And that's often an intern, right? Many times, many organizations, especially small organizations, like, oh, great, I'm going to bring on an intern to do that. But then you need to be so clear with that intern about what it is. You need to define very clear parameters about how to post and what to post, and they're going to keep coming back to you. Mm-hmm. And so that's why budgeting is an important element to it, absolutely. But first you have to get clear on that line of sight before you budget. and then you budget based on the line of sight. And so it's a very iterative process that I think sometimes can also feel a bit tedious, because they're like, well, I already did this work. Why am I coming back to this work again? But it's something that will be in perpetuity, in my opinion. And I think you agree, right? It's something that it's very cyclical and you have to keep coming back to. Yeah, I see you nodding.
You know, you're touching on something so important. Strategy isn't a one and done. And so if you think I'm going to invest 3-5 days of my life into my strategy and then I can run my business forever, you have to know that 3 to 5 days or a week, an hour a week, every week for 32 weeks, like our business building mastermind program, or whatever that commitment is, that's year round, year over year. Because if your business is staying the same, you're probably not growing at the pace that you could be, because you're really just bringing in the same clients. And as you grow your business, you can start to charge more, to be pickier about who your clients are. I think we've all probably had that client where we think, one day I won't have to have this client anymore. Or we had, it wasn't a client, it was a sponsor. And their demands on us were so onerous, we had to walk away. And we had the luxury of being able to walk away, even though it was during the pandemic, but we could not put all of our energy into that particular sponsor. And those are the things that if you're growing your business, you're developing your finances, you're hiring and you're delegating, you start to be able to get picky about who your clients are.
And that specificity also is tied to the ones that bring you joy, the ones that are satisfying, right? Doing the work is the fun part. And so being able to find those moments to keep coming back to that.
I love that. And, somebody said this right when I started femmebought, it must have been right in the early days. And it's resonated with me ever since then. Do you want the client who receives your bill and pays it? Or do you want the client who receives your bill and complains about it? I think we can all answer that question.
Those are wise words. So many people come to mind, not of my clients, but of people who've brought that to me of how do I get out of this, right? How do I keep going? Absolutely. My friend, this time has flown by. Oh my gosh, we are like flown by. I know we are actually like almost past time. So any final thoughts that you would like to share with our communities?
Yeah, absolutely. First of all, thank you for having me, Brooke. This is really exciting. And for those of you who don't know, this is my first Instagram Live since I had some health issues a couple of years back and couldn't really do video. So I'm very proud to say I've overcome that. And I want to let people know that our program that we're putting on collaboratively, femmebought and Best for Women, has some scholarship programs. So we have scholarship dollars. So if you look and you see that the program is out of your price range, then let us know. There's an application on the website to get some offset of scholarship dollars towards the program. And so that's the beauty of it, is we really are for, in our niche, 1 year revenue generating, growing your business, ready to start delegating. We have dollars for you if you can't afford the full price.
Amazing. Amazing. Thank you for your generosity. Thank you for your time today, my friend. And it's so easy to collaborate with you. It's been such a pleasure and an honor to be able to serve and be part of the femmebought community for the past, over 3 years now.
It's only been 3 years. It feels like it's been 5, Brooke.
I know. And part of it, I think, is because it's evolved, right? The community has evolved, and how you've responded has truly evolved.
Brooke, We are so grateful to have you in our corner at femmebought, and you are tremendous to women entrepreneurs. So thank you, and thank you for having me today.
You're such a pleasure. Thank you for joining me. Thank you everyone for signing on today. It was a pleasure to spend time with you, and we look forward to continuing the conversation. We'll be dropping all of this information that Sophia shared in the reel, so you'll be able to find that in the comments. Now have a wonderful day, everyone. Thank you. Goodbye.
Bye.